Welcome everybody, this is Huschenbeth and today I would like to show you the game Anand against Kasparov from the Credit Suisse Rapid Tournament 1996. And why this game? Well, this game is mostly famous for Kasparov's hilarious reactions to a blunder, a very bad move he made in this game. And I recommend you to check out the video of this game where you can see how Kasparov reacted. Afterwards, you'll find a link in the description. But for now, I want to show you the blunder and also explain the backstory and show you the whole game. So let's get to it. Before we begin though, as always, the comment of the day. And the comment of the day is from Arn 1995-2006. Hi, just want to say I'm really enjoying the new game analysis and the content in general. So clear, concise and instructive. Thanks for all the good work. Well, Arn 1995-2006, thank you for commenting and supporting. I appreciate it. Now let's get to the game. Anand against Kasparov. This was a PCA rapid tournament. PCA was then the Professional Chess Association. Kasparov created this himself as kind of a rival association to the FIDE because he wasn't satisfied with how the FIDE was running things. So he created his own chess player association and was running his own tournaments and some quite strong ones. And this was a major rapid tournament held in Geneva, Switzerland. And before this game, there had been, so this was the finals of the tournament, and Viswanathan Anand and Kasparov were facing off. And the rapid games had ended in a tie, 1-1. So then they moved to blitz. And the first blitz game was a draw. So now this is the second blitz game. That means whoever wins this game wins the whole thing. So the pressure was immensely high, obviously. With that being said, let's begin and see how this game went. Anand with the white piece started out with 1 e4. And we see the Najdorf by Kasparov. Here a6 introduces the Najdorf, bishop e3, knight g4, bishop g5. This is a typical theoretical line here, pushing back the bishop to g3, and black puts the bishop on g7, bishop e2, h5. Now bishop takes g4, takes f3, bishop drops back to d7, bishop f2, knight c6, queen d2, knight e5. And here white cannot take on g5. This pawn is hanging, but if he takes, and you can see the engine variation bar going all the way down in favor for black, then white loses queen after bishop h6. Now, for example, queen h4, knight g6, queen g3 and h4, and the poor queen is trapped on g3 and is lost. So this doesn't work, and instead Anand played castle. Now g4, a good move by Kasparov. f4, knight c4, queen to e2. The queen was attacked from the knight, and now rook c8, putting the rook on the half open c file and supporting the knight on c4. Now b3, a good move by Anand, pushing knight away. Knight a3, knight d5, e6, and knight b4. Queen a5, queen e1, and now h4 is another strong move by Kasparov. He wants to get more space on the king side and also take away squares from the king by either going h3 on g3 in the future. Bishop e3, h3, g3, knight b5, and here Anna made a mistake. He needs to take the knight on b5. Knight takes b5, bishop takes b5. Now the problem is for white that both rooks are under attack by the bishops. That means he will lose one of them. But here after c4 takes, white is hitting the rook on h8, which is why the rook should move, rook f8. Knight d3, white has some compensation for the exchange, and this was definitely the best practical chance for him. But instead, in this position, Anand chose rook d1. But now the knight comes to c3 with just devastating effect. everything is hanging. The pawn e4, the rook on d1, the knight on b4. This is too much. And here Anand played knight d3, for now covering everything because the queen is pinning the knight, but black just moves the queen out of the pin and still is attacking pawn and rook. So rook c1, now black picks up this pawn. That really hurts because the center pawns are always more important than the other pawns, and also the white king is becoming more vulnerable as black, you can imagine, somehow getting his queen to g2. Now f5, e5, and at this point the black position is completely winning. f6, Anand sacrificed another pawn to get his knight to f5, but that's not really doing too much. Black just chops it off, plays queen c6, and now we see what I was talking about. Black's threatening checkmate in 1. Queen e2 is stopping that, but the queen comes to a very nice central square here on e4. Rook back to f2, knight d5, rook e1, and this is the moment. Black is completely winning, completely dominating here. He is 2 pawns up, and not only that, the white king is weak. He can do anything, really. He can castle, he can play f5. There are so many winning moves, and Kasparov managed to find one move which is just changing the game completely, and in one move leading from a completely winning position, to a lost position pretty much. So what did he do? He played queen takes e3. At first this looks smart, right? Taking off the queens and then just winning the endgame with 2 pawns up. The problem is though that white doesn't have to take on e3. Actually, if Kasparov had played knight takes e3, had started in this order, he would have gotten what he wanted. Now white doesn't have another useful move than taking on e3, and takes, black is 2 pawns up, and he will win sooner or later. Rook f8 here is a nice move, preparing f5, completely winning. But Kasparov played queen takes e3, probably thinking it doesn't matter, but it does very much. So what did he miss? Well, that's the question to you guys. What did he miss here? What can white do that suddenly changes everything? So stop the video right now and think about it. Alright, so white doesn't have to take the queen. He can instead go queen takes g4. And now just everything works out for white perfectly. The rook is defended on e1 and is now hitting the queen on e3. And white is attacking 2 pieces, rook and bishop. And that means black is lost because he cannot defend everything. He cannot even defend the rook on c8. So this was just such a huge surprise to Kasparov, and of course very much devastating because obviously he had so many winning ways in this position, and this just doesn't happen to Kasparov very much. Probably he relaxed thinking he'll just win this game easily now, and then just missed this one move, queen takes g4. So Kasparov tried the best he could. He sacrificed his queen, and he has rook and minor piece against the queen, but the queen is better in this position and white is winning. Here Kasparov played knight d4, then his chances are indeed very slim. His last chance was to go e4 in this position, and for example now knight f4, knight e3, rook to d2, bishop c3, knight d5. Now black should take on d5, and he can go bishop e5. He retains chances here in this position to hold it somehow, especially considering there was a blitz game, so just 5 minutes for each player, but white is still clearly better, if not winning. So let's see how the remainder of the game went. Knight d4, takes, a5, king g2, rook c3, knight b2, knight comes to c4, d5, knight d6. Now white is going after the black king here, knight e3 check, and the white king is relatively safe on h3, f5, queen d7, f4, queen e6 check, and the black king is too vulnerable. Knight f7, strong move, threatening to bring the knight to g5, so black has to give the exchange, and of course at this point he's completely lost. Here though he was threatening checkmate, but Anand can easily avoid it, takes on f4, e4, f5, d4, queen to e7, check, but this is just not doing much. Knight d1, rook f4, desperation, e3, the pawns are too far, and rook g4 ends the game as black cannot deal with the checkmate threat on g7 in any good way. So this was it. This was Kasparov's big blunder, and if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend you to check out the video. You'll find the link in the description. I hope you enjoyed this game analysis, and if you have any questions or if anything was unclear, then please let me know in the comments, and talk to you very soon. Bye bye.